The entire restaurant went silent the moment he grabbed her. She had done nothing wrong. Just a long shift, a crowded dining room, and a manager already looking for someone to blame. But when he dragged her across the floor in front of everyone, it wasn't just about a spilled drink or a late order. It was about power, about humiliation, about the kind of anger that shows up too quickly when the person standing in front of you is a black woman who can't afford to fight back. Customers stared. Phones came out. No one stepped in. What he didn't realize was that someone very important was watching every second. And by the time he understood what he had started, it was already too late. The question is, why did he think he could get away with it in the first place? Her name was Alana Brooks, and most nights, she moved through the restaurant like clockwork, balancing heavy trays, smiling through exhaustion, remembering regular customers' favorite orders before they even sat down. The tips weren't always great, but they were enough to help cover nursing school tuition and keep the lights on in the small apartment she shared with her husband. Every shift mattered. Every table counted. She had learned early how to read a room. Which customers wanted small talk, which ones didn't see her at all, and which ones looked at her just a second too long, as if searching for a mistake she hadn't made yet. The restaurant itself was busy, popular, and proud of its family atmosphere. But behind the polished menus and warm lighting, there was another reality, one the staff understood without ever saying out loud. Certain servers were watched more closely, corrected more harshly, blamed more quickly. Alana worked twice as hard to avoid giving anyone a reason. That night had started like any other. A packed dining room, a new seasonal menu, a manager already irritated before the dinner rush even began. She noticed the tension in his jaw when she greeted him, the way his eyes followed her longer than usual. It wasn't the first time. Still, she kept her head down and did her job, because sometimes surviving the shift felt more important than proving a point. What she didn't know was that before the night ended, the entire restaurant would see exactly how differently she was treated and why. The mistake was small, so small most people wouldn't have noticed. A table near the window said their steak was overcooked. Alana apologized immediately, calm and professional, and took the plate back to the kitchen. The cooks barely reacted. Remakes happened all the time. It wasn't unusual. It wasn't dramatic. But when she stepped back onto the floor, the manager was already walking toward her. His expression wasn't frustrated. It was sharp, focused, like he had been waiting. The dining room buzzed with conversation, silverware clinking against plates, soft music playing overhead. Yet somehow, his voice cut through it all when he demanded to know what happened. His tone was louder than necessary. Heads began to turn. Alana explained. Simple. Direct. The customer wanted it medium rare. It came out medium. She had fixed it. It should have ended there. Instead, he accused her of not ringing it incorrectly, of costing the restaurant money, of always having some kind of issue. The words landed harder than they should have. Always. She replayed every shift in her mind. The extra tables she covered, the double shifts she volunteered for, the complaints she absorbed without ever escalating. Customers were watching now, some whispering, some staring openly. She felt the familiar tightening in her chest, that quiet calculation she had learned to make in moments like this. Stay calm. Don't react. Don't give him anything he can twist. But he stepped closer. Too close. He pointed toward the kitchen doors and told her to stop embarrassing him in front of guests. The irony stung. Her cheeks burned, but she kept her voice steady. She wasn't arguing. She was explaining. That's when his hand shot out. He grabbed her wrist. Not gently. Not accidentally. The room shifted. Conversations faltered. A fork clattered to the floor somewhere near the bar. He pulled her a step forward, as if she were a child being dragged out of class. Shock froze her for half a second. Just enough time for humiliation to flood in. The sting wasn't just physical, it was public. Intentional. Designed to remind her exactly who he believed held the power. A couple at the nearest table stood halfway out of their seats. Someone near the entrance lifted their phone. Alana tried to pull back. Not violently, just enough to reclaim her space. His grip tightened. And then he said something low enough that only she and a few nearby tables could hear. Something about attitude, about knowing her place, about being replaceable. The words weren't new, but hearing them here, in front of everyone, stripped away any illusion that this was about a stake. The dining room had gone nearly silent now. Every second stretched. That's when the front door opened again. A man stepped inside, scanning the room as if searching for someone, and his eyes locked onto the scene unfolding near the kitchen. The man at the door didn't shout. He didn't run. He just walked forward, slow, steady, eyes fixed on the manager's hand wrapped tightly around Alana's wrist. For a split second, the manager didn't notice him. He was too focused on asserting control, too consumed by the performance of power unfolding in front of a silent dining room. Alana's heart pounded so loudly she could barely hear anything else. The grip on her wrist burned now, not just from pressure, but from the humiliation of being handled like she didn't matter. Then the manager followed her line of sight, and everything changed. The man standing a few feet away wasn't just another customer. He wasn't confused or hesitant. He looked furious, but contained, measured, the kind of anger that doesn't explode, it dismantles. He took in the scene in one glance. His wife being restrained, dozens of witnesses, phones recording, a dining room frozen in disbelief. The manager's fingers loosened slightly, but it was too late, because the man calmly pulled out his wallet, not to pay, to reveal a badge. The room inhaled as one. It wasn't just that he was her husband. It was who he was, a civil rights attorney known in the city for taking on discrimination cases that most people were too afraid to fight. The kind of lawyer restaurant chains dreaded seeing their name attached to. The manager stepped back now, stumbling over words that didn't come. His earlier confidence evaporated under the weight of recognition. And for the first time that night, the power in the room shifted. Alana stood there, wrist red, eyes steady. Not rescued. Not helpless. Just seen. The question wasn't whether there would be consequences. It was how far they would reach. The manager tried to explain. He said it was a misunderstanding. Said he was just escorting her to the kitchen. Said emotions were high during the dinner rush. But the dining room had seen it. The phones had recorded it. And for the first time, the version of events wasn't his to control. By the end of the night, corporate had been notified. Statements were taken. Within days, the video spread far beyond that restaurant's walls. The investigation moved quickly, faster than cases like this usually do. The manager was terminated. The company issued a public apology. Mandatory bias training was announced. But for Alana, the impact wasn't erased by a press release. She went home with a sore wrist and a heavier truth. The humiliation lingered. The realization that if her husband hadn't walked in at that exact moment, the story might have ended very differently. Maybe no one would have spoken up. Maybe it would have been labeled attitude. Maybe she would have been the one sent home. That's what stayed with her. Because this wasn't just about one restaurant. It was about how quickly authority can turn into entitlement. How easily professionalism is questioned when the person standing in front of you looks a certain way. How often moments like this happen without cameras, without witnesses, without consequences. Alana returned to work weeks later, not because she had to prove anything, but because she refused to be pushed out of spaces she had earned. And maybe that's the real question this story leaves behind. How many people endure the same injustice every day, without someone powerful walking through the door to shift the balance? If this story moved you, share it. Talk about it. Because silence is often the only thing that allows moments like this to repeat.